Hello, everyone. You like that dramatic effect? I'm all hydrated here. I am getting ready to do Days of Our Lives Top 10 Questions Part 2. If you haven't seen my Part 1, I did this back in August. Essentially, all these questions I've been asked over the years, I condensed them into one video, and I'll put the link up here somewhere in the description so you can click and see the first version that I did months ago with those 10 questions. And then I asked in that video to comment below other questions that I haven't answered. And so thank you for being patient. It took me 6 months to make this second video, but this is part 2. So I'm going to go through the 10 questions and I'm going to answer them for you. So this is Top 10 Questions Part 2. If you haven't done so, if this is your first time coming to the channel or you've seen a couple videos before and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. This way you don't miss any of the videos. My fiance and I are trying to put out a video almost every single day, from long form podcasts to one-off videos to how-to videos to vlogs. So if you haven't done so and you'd like to follow our journey here on YouTube, please subscribe. We would much appreciate that. But let me hop right in to the top 10 questions, and I'll start off with number 1. Number 1 is, what does it mean when someone says they're an actor's director? The actor's director meaning that the director maybe allows the actor to kind of have a little more leeway. I know on Days of Our Lives, the directors are very open to whatever we feel. I'm the type of actor, though, that kind of whatever the director puts their time into and they create, I just do it. If they want me to sit down at the edge of the coffee table or go grab coffee, I find ways to make it work, even if it feels awkward, where I'm like, why would my character, and it rarely ever happens, honestly. They're all very amazing, where I'd go, why would I go get coffee right now? It always makes sense. But there are times maybe that you feel like sitting or standing, but I look at it as a challenge as an actor. It's not my job to direct. It's my job to, if they want me to sit and then stand at this point, then I will stand at this point. And that's what I do. What's it like transitioning between different actors? And I think the question was specifically between Guy Wilson and Chandler and vice versa. But I think just to wrap it all up, in general, when you have, even when Christopher Sean was my love interest and him and I were together, or what's currently airing at the time of this video with Evan and Sonny, essentially just the transition between the actors is the narrative that we're telling is identical, and the only thing that's different is just the personalities and the chemistry between the characters. But that's what our job is as an actor. Is, I think so many people get used to me and Chandler because they've seen us for so long, and yes, we've continued to build a friendship, trust, and a chemistry, and we have all these scenes in our back pocket, so you kind of have a familiarity that I think people see. But at the end of the day, and I take it as a huge compliment, that people are like, oh my God, we're heartbroken, or we're in love, or we're so happy for them. We still are two individual people that aren't Sonny and Will, and we get a script, and we wake up to our alarm, and we get in the makeup chair, and we're drinking our coffee, and we're waking up, and some of these big scenes are shot at like 8:45 in the morning. You're a little tired. You're kind of doing jumping jacks, getting yourself ready. You're thinking about your lines, and you just have to, when action is called, you look into that person's eyes and you allow all that stuff to happen. But in general, we're still acting. And so that doesn't leave regardless of who you're working with. There is just something, maybe it could be equivalent to dancing. I know as a baseball player growing up, there was a specific relationship between a pitcher and catcher. That when there were different catchers or that I would work with as the pitcher, it's essentially chemistry. And that's something that you have that's different with each actor. But at the end of the day, you just have to tell the story. So the transition for me, though, was different. I wouldn't call it difficult. It was just different, and I had to adjust. And it is fun sometimes, And you actually, funny enough, what's more interesting is that I actually miss working with Chandler because Chandler represents Days of Our Lives for me because we basically work together every day. So when we go 3 months without working together, sometimes not seeing each other, and it's when we're broken up, it's kind of interesting when we do get back together in the future, or if we get back together or in the past, or if we get back together in the future, you genuinely, as friends, you're like, oh, I missed running these lines, or, talking and catching up. So it kind of, art imitates real life and vice versa. Is your press responses prepared? They're not. The only thing that I would prepare is something like the only time I ever actually prepare and look at notes is if we are going to walk the carpet at like the GLAAD Awards, just because I want to be 100%. I want to do my research. I want to be able to speak properly. I don't want to. I want to have knowledge, and I want to speak intelligently about very, very important topics that I'm doing my due diligence and being able to look back and be proud of my answers because I know that it's impacting people's lives. So something in that instance, I will look. If it's just like the Emmys in general or any other interview that I do, there's nothing ever prepared. I just speak from the heart and I tell the truth, and that's basically what I do in my videos, my podcast. I don't have any ulterior motive other than just speaking my truth, and I think authenticity in general is what is going more mainstream because people are tired of all the BS, and being authentic is what people are attracted to. The Udell twins, I miss. This is interesting because when I moved out to Los Angeles in 2006, I never, other than my younger cousins, but I was young. When you're 12 and you have a 6-year-old cousin, your perspective isn't thinking like of age and life. You're 12. I was never an adult that had children around me. So the Udell twins played a huge part in my life of how to hold a baby. Just watching these little girls grow up from 6 months to 6 years old, and seeing their transformation. And they were the only kids that I've been around my entire life. And now people in my family are having kids. So as I go home, I'm now starting to develop a relationship with children. But I was never around kids. So the Udell twins to me personally were very important because it was kind of interesting. I was learning as my character was learning because I didn't know. So a lot of that probably looked real because I really didn't know what I was doing and I was learning. I always have to call out the family because they are just wonderful people, and not just wonderful people where they're just professional and they're being nice. Like, I mean, genuinely like wonderful people. They actually care. They are just very, very special people. And with Sydney and Harper and the whole entire family, I wish them so well, and I wish them all the success and happiness in the world because they deserve it. I do miss working with them dearly, and with the storyline that's sped up, and now we have our daughter. Ari is now being played by an actress also named Sydney, who is 10 years old. So there was a jump. So unfortunately, the Udell twins couldn't play that role, but at the same time, yet again, how things change. They did bring in a new actress who is wonderful as well, and we've been building a relationship, and she's doing an amazing job, and she had some big shoes to fill, and she's doing a great job. So I miss the Udell twins greatly and their family, but I'm also very excited for the new actress who has this opportunity now to step into this role, and it's been a great experience as well. So someone said that they noticed like that the chemistry between Chandler and I has grown. I think a part of it is that we've worked together for so long. But we're also, we started when we were, I think Chandler's 2 years younger than me, like 21 and 23. So yet again, at least for me, I don't want to speak for him, but I was as most a more selfish 23-year-old with lack of life experience and perspective, and I was less thoughtful. I was less into learning to become better, learning about the world, learning about people, and I think life experience, the things that the ups and downs in life over the past almost 10 years, we as people have grown. And you start having a deeper relationship when you can start sharing and experiencing things in life that you bring to your character that isn't made up, but you can actually pull from really terrible experiences in your life. So I just think we've grown and matured. So I think that maturity, there's more to a relationship, and I'm sure there's going to be more to relationship too. When I have kids one day, the relationship between Alyssa and I is going to be greater because there's a responsibility and there's this new, which I can't even describe, so forgive me parents, but you know what I'm saying. Like when you're dating at 17 years old, yeah, you're in love, you're experiencing things for the first time, but someone who's gone through a lot in life and have been together for years, who's 32, that relationship's going to have different dynamics than a 17-year-old first love, and just like I'm sure a 45 20-year-old who has 3 kids, who's been with somebody through ups and downs for 20 years, has a different relationship, and their chemistry is different, their shorthand's different, the looks, they understand their vibe. So I think me and Chandler just understand each other. We've grown up, and that's why the chemistry is showing through our acting. Are there pranks on set? I feel there were more pranks when I first started. The only one I can think of is there was like a small feud between Camila and Galen at one point in a very friendly, fun way. But I think someone like hung toilet paper from like the ceiling panels in someone's room. It's all I really remember for pranks. I feel like someone like Galen or maybe even Martsoff, like people who've been there longer. I think there might have been more pranks back in the days, like the early 2000s possibly. There was a different energy. Everything has changed, especially over the past 5 years. We all just have a good time, but we're there to work. It moves so fast that there's just no time. When I first was there in 2011, there were days that I was like sitting in my room for 6 hours, and you're paid to wait. There's like that saying as an actor. There is no waiting. It is fast. Like it is fast. We work at such a pace that there is really no time for pranks. I barely have time to go to Whole Foods and get my lunch or my breakfast, so there's really not as many pranks as you might think. Someone said about being an actor and having balance with your family. This is something I think of now that I'm getting older and my family's getting older and people in my family are having kids and I'm not around. I'm going to speak on 2 different forms of this. Number one, I didn't think of this when I was 18 years old, but if I still knew what I knew now, sadly, I missed almost 15 years of many, many moments with my family. But I still would have done it because of who I've become and what I'm doing for a living. I had to be here to do it. I had to sacrifice not being able to see all my friends and family. And to be honest, too, a lot of my high school friends, we were close for maybe 2-3 years when I would come back. But a combination of everyone growing apart, which usually happens, me not being there, and a lot of people also leaving my hometown. My hometown's very small. There wasn't many opportunities. So a lot of my high school, everyone left. So that was the other sacrifice, is that I lost touch with a lot of friends, and we were such a small community. I grew up with tons of friends at home, a huge family, and I definitely lost a lot of that, and I lost a lot of moments with people over the 15 years. And that's, not a woe is me. I had to make a decision, but that is a sacrifice for someone who's looking to move for any reason. Especially when you move from Cleveland to LA, it is a 12-hour round trip to drive to the airport, security, fly, land, get to the house. It's not like they live in Phoenix. So that was a sacrifice. Now, when it comes to people who maybe their family is here and they're acting or any other job, I think you just have to do what makes you happy. But I will say, I can't remember where I learned this from. I think I watched a video with Eric Worre back in the day who talked about life balance, and it made so much sense to me that you can't seek work-life balance on a day-to-day basis. You need to search for work-life balance in seasons where essentially, because you're going to lose. Your family and your work and your goals are all going to suffer if you try to do everything every day. Where I got to work 5 hours, I got to sleep, I got to work out, I got to be with my family, I got to be with my friends every single day. No one's going to win. So what I have found is that I'll go on runs where I go like 90 days, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to work out, I'm not hanging out with any friends, I'm not literally doing anything except work. And then I'll take like 3 weeks where I go, I'm good on work, I'm happy to be on hiatus, I'm going to go travel, hang out with family, I'm not going to go on social media as much, I'm going to go see my friends, hang out, catch up, party. And so I do work-life balance that way, but I think it's to the individual. It's also depending on how much you like your work. That's also another whole topic. But if you love what you do, it's a little different. If you don't love what you do, that's also different. So that's a loaded question, but that's how I would answer both of those parts. So how do contracts work? So I mentioned it slightly on another video, but I don't want to speak for everyone. I don't want to give out specific figures just as of now, but this is how the contracts will work. Is when I was brand new, I got a 4-year contract. And when you're brand new on the show, I don't know if this is still how it is with brand new people, but I'll speak from my experience. We basically got booked in 13-week cycles. So even though I had a 4-year contract, meaning that they essentially, I'm contractually obligated to show up when they tell me legally I'm signing for 4 years. But in my first, I believe, 2 years, every 13 weeks was a cycle, 4 cycles, where the show had the ability to give me a 6-week notice that they weren't going to renew my next 13 weeks and let me go. I believe they do that in case maybe someone new comes on that they don't vibe with, or if the fans don't work, or they decide to, age the character or get rid of a character. So they do 13-week cycles. Then, as you get more mature in the machine, if you will, in the family, you start doing 26-week cycles, where you're essentially guaranteed 26 weeks. And then yet again, they could let you know 6 weeks before that they're not going to pick up your next 26 weeks, but you're guaranteed 26 weeks of pay, 26 weeks of work at a time, even though you're signing a year contract. It's broken into 2 26-week cycles. Now, when it comes to the episode, there are 2 ways that this works. We are essentially given a guarantee of episodes. So we're guaranteed pay, but not guaranteed airtime. So they guarantee you when you first start, maybe they guarantee you 1 episode a week, meaning 1 episode of pay a week, but they don't have to work you. They'll just eat that money. But they owe you guaranteed 1 episode a week, or maybe 2 episodes a week. So as you continue to grow, you'll be guaranteed 1.5 episodes, blah, blah, you get up to 2. I don't know if people have more than that. But if you get a 2 episode guarantee, that means that they're guaranteed to pay you 2 episodes a week, even though they might work you 9 or they might work you 2. And what that boils down to is this. At the end of the 2 years, or at the end of the year, 26-week cycle, 26-week cycle, altogether 2 episodes a week is what? 52 weeks times 2 is 104 episodes. So you're guaranteed, if you get both cycles good in your contract, you're guaranteed 104 episodes of pay. So if I work 97 episodes that air, I still get paid for 104. But if my storyline's going well, there's a year I think I did 140. So here's the last kicker to this, and I believe many of my castmates do it this way. There's pros and cons, but because this is one of my favorite things, talking about money and all this stuff, I'll get into one more step for you. There's 2 ways of doing this. We get paid per episode. And again, I don't want to share what that is in this video in particular. I might in the future, but we get paid per episode. So what some of the cast does, what I've heard most do, and I like the strategy, but there's something that I do that's different. You can either work on a per episode basis, or you can work on your guarantee. So what does that mean? Well, for instance, let's say you decide I just want paid for the episode amounts that I work for that week. So let's say I work 7 episodes. I'm going to get a fat check that week because I worked 7 episodes. So whatever my episode rate is times 7, that's a big check. But then let's say we go on a 3-week hiatus, you don't get paid those 3 weeks. But at the end of the year, when you do 7, 3, 8, 2, 7, 8, 4, 1, 0, 0, at the end of the year, it still boils down to that number of 104. But it's how it's distributed throughout the year. Some people like big chunks and then no money. For me, for budgeting purposes, and for me not to feel like a baller just because I decided that I did 11 episodes in a week and I get this fat check and I'm like, oh, I'll spend a couple grand. Like, why not? I do my guarantee, meaning every single Monday or Thursday, whenever it comes in the mail, I get 2 episodes worth of money every week for 52 weeks. So I get my check, that's 2. Now I might have worked 7, I might have worked none, but while I'm off those 3 weeks, I'm still getting my paycheck whether I work or not. Now at the end of the year, if I get paid my 104 episodes, but let's say I worked 110, then they owe me a 6-episode bonus check, which I'll use to put towards taxes or an investment or my savings account. So there's basically no right or wrong way to do it, but I like doing it that way. And to be honest, these days with the budget being so tight, most of the time they're not going to work you over your contract because they're budgeting the actors of what they know. So there's times that they will not work you more. So I'm like, why do I want an influx of cash and then nothing? Why don't I just budget my life off of my check that I get every Thursday or Friday, and it's the same check throughout the year? Someone asked, do we really kiss? We do. we really kiss in the sense that we kiss, but it's also PG. So, it's not like it's some heavy, real like open mouth tongue, make out sesh, hot and heavy, rated R type make out sesh. It's more, daytime PG, sensual. It's about being tasteful. That was a word we've always used. Be tasteful, be truthful. But I think some people, to be honest, I don't really watch, that many love scenes. But I mean, maybe some people, go a little further with it. I'm not sure. But I know in my 9-year run, it's been mostly more sensual, more tasteful, PG type of making out. How do I get emotional? This is something that's evolved for me. If you really just set yourself in the position of the character, and this is easier said than done, it takes practice. Like for instance, I can say this because the preview is out. When my mom in the show died, I'm not the type of actor, and many people do this. I don't know. It's changed for me. Many people will think maybe of their mother dying. I did not think of my own mother in that situation. I really just imagined what Sonny would be feeling. And my little trick is I will sometimes listen to music to get myself in a mood where I could cry, or I will look at very touching YouTube videos of, the touching, like, with animals or whatever it is that gets you to the place where you could cry. It gets you to that level. It would kind of be like yelling before doing an anger scene. At least your body is in that phase. So at least if I was about to cry watching this YouTube video, I put it in my pocket, I walk up as they're counting down, and then I'm real close to crying. So then I just believe what I'm saying, and I go. And it's like anyone who's crying. They always make that joke where when you're crying, you look in the mirror and you just start crying harder because you, in a weird way, you start thinking of things that make you sad. So once you get it boiling, you can go, but it's getting it there. And I never like to fake it because I think it comes off odd. So I like to get myself there. So whether that's listening to a song or whether that's looking at a YouTube video, for my mom's scenes, I'll give the spoiler alert. I went in the back, and you have to change it up sometimes because sometimes it won't work anymore. But I watched, this is always a go-to if I don't watch it for a while, the old Budweiser commercial with the puppy and the pony, where they're best friends, and the dog, after the horse is gone, goes on this long journey and then meets the horse. And then the dog was surrounded by wolves and was almost about to get eaten, but then all the horse and his new buddies like break out and go save the dog. That gets me every time, even talking about it. I can tell I'm getting there. So it just anywhere to get you there, and then I'm just in the scene and I get it. I just understand what's going on, but I need to get myself there. Anger for me comes much easier. I'm oddly good at anger. I think a lot of people don't have that in their reservoir. I can get really, really angry, and also I've learned that if you get too crazy with it, then it just comes off as obtuse. But it's about harboring that mad anger. And then what you do with that as a choice is interesting. So there's a lot of different things about getting emotional. Basically, anger and crying are the ones that are the most, interesting. The hardest emotion to play is surprise. When you have to open the door and you're thinking it's someone, and all of a sudden someone from the dead is the hardest. And our acting coach, Maria, said on set, just in your mind, tell yourself that this is going to be someone else. Like, just imagine it's going to be, Will, and really believe that just for like 3 seconds before you open the door. So when you see someone that's from the dead, but that's the only emotion that surprise is hard to act because you kind of have to be it. Like, how do you get yourself ready for a surprise? That's almost like an actor or a director or someone has to almost trick you into being really surprised. Surprise is a very hard thing to do, but we can act it. You can act, you can mimic it, and with the editing, it looks real. I have ran this video so long. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. If you have any other questions that I did not answer, comment below, and I will do a part 3 if I haven't covered all the questions. So thank you so much for spending almost 30 minutes with me as I answer all these questions. I really appreciate you, and until next time.